can bless the lives of children, men, and women through your supernatural gifts. Be proud of your womanhood, enhance it, and use it to serve others. Some sister ought to say amen. What a powerful statement by a former Church of the Latter-day Saints apostle. His words speaks volumes as we celebrate the gift of womanhood in our church and across our community. While his statement is lofty, it doesn't necessarily apply to the plight of all women, especially the women of color. Dr. Cheryl A. Kirk-Duncan gives us this insight from her essay, Womanist Theology as a Corrective to African American Theology, in the Oxford Handbook of African American Theology. Listen to what Dr. Kirk-Duncan says. Womanist theology offers a corrective discipline to false statement that deals with the complexity of the plight of women of color in the United States, of the African diasporian women, and ultimately the wholeness of persons across gender, race, class, age, and ability. Black women have lived the ontologies, existential realities, and subversion strategies that undergird womanist thought. Alice Walker, poet, novelist, and activist, coined and explored the term in her 1983 collection, In Search of a Woman's Gardeners, Womanist Prowls. Her four-part definition examines the relationality steeped in love, qualifies womanist strength, maturity, willfulness, and audacious spirit, explores the sexual and non-sexual experiences of committed womanist love, reflects on the aesthetics and politics of womanist love, and ends with a comparative view on womanism in conjunction to Black feminism. Womanist thought became a discipline when scholar activist Katie G. Cannon adopted Walker's definition as an analytic rubric. She recognized that neither traditional feminist theology, which problematized gender, nor traditional Black theology, which problematized race, provided all the categories needed for her world, which included poor Black women considered as the least of these. Initially, Cannon and others like Dolores Williams and Jacqueline Grant and Cheryl Townsend Gilkes and Emily Towns began to use the term to expose oppression and to correct some of the systemic and personal challenges to Black people worldwide. The inclusive nature of womanist thought ultimately organizes toward love, justice-making, and the transformation of all people. Womanist thought has 5 essential elements. It works against oppression for liberation. Its vernacular or everyday realities is non-ideological, abhorring rigid lines of demarcation toward decentralization. Is communitarian, where collective well-being is the goal of social change, and is spiritualized. It acknowledges a spiritual, transcendental reality where humanity, creation, and matter interconnect with one another. That is from Black scholar, Sister Durkin. Our text today deals with the restoration of life and hope for 2 different women in their journey of Jesus. One is the daughter of an important person, and the other is a woman who has suffered from an issue that has caused her body to lose blood, but she doesn't lose her hope. While there is a 12-year comparative narrative very present in this pericope of Mark 5, 21 through 40, where a 12-year-old daughter on her deathbed and a sister had been bleeding daily for 12 years, but she is still alive. The synagogue ruler Jairus comes to Jesus on behalf of his daughter, and Jesus heads towards his house. However, the deliverance processional is interrupted by a woman who takes her issue into her own hands and makes her way to Jesus. The text teaches us that sometimes a woman must love herself enough to do something about her situation. She can no longer depend on the systems that oppress and limit her. She cannot afford to allow others' opinions about her situation to detour her from her destiny. She must love herself enough to make some changes. Today, I want to inspire some sisters to change their situation. No matter how bad things seem, you can make something beautiful happen for yourself from the inside out. Regardless of the odds stacked up against you or the systemic evils that stand in your way, your healing, your deliverance, and your wholeness are within your reach. What can we learn from this sister that will empower women, enlarge a woman's territory, and explore her infinite possibilities? I want to suggest in this text, there is a tridimensional motif that suggests, that demonstrates her tenacity that's transformational. She demonstrates powerful perseverance, and she demonstrates also a dynamic determination for her deliverance. Do I have any witnesses here this morning? Consider her tenacity that's transformational. The Luke narrative informs us that she had gone to all the health professionals of her day, and she came up empty-handed. Going from bad news to bad news can be draining and very exhaustive. Dealing with hope givers who smash your hopes can cause you to be depressed and even depleted. However, tenacity is the inner ability to manifest persistence by gripping the situation with all you got, and she was relentless about getting something done in her situation. Here she is. Her steadfastness kept her alive after 12 years of losing her blood. Her diligence to never give up on the possibility that something better was coming is what kept her believing day in and day out. Her insistence on keeping diligent about her future kept her from throwing in the towel on life. Her tirelessness to endure being shut out because of religious ceremonial uncleanness fueled her to keep her hope alive. Here it is. Her tenacity is transformational because she helps us to see that we can live above and with life's unfortunate obstacles and use them to change our lives and everybody else's. Can I break it down for you? She helps us to understand that what she does is uses her tenacity to help us to understand it might look bad and it might be bad, but if you hold on long enough, everything will work out for your good. I stopped by here to tell somebody that this sister helps us to understand that when you demonstrate that you are not going to give up or give in to the circumstance, you're demonstrating tenacity. And guess what? Not only is somebody else watching you, but God is watching you too. God is keeping his eyes on you, and God wants you to know that if you just hang on in there just a little while longer, things will work out and you will be able to have a testimony that's transformational. I wish I had somebody who understood. I don't know about you, but have you ever been through something and after you've gone through it, you have a testimony that you're never going to be the same like you were before you went through what you went through? It is only after you've gone through enough, after you've suffered enough, after you put up with enough, after you dealt with enough, that when you get through with that, you say to yourself and everybody else around you, I'm going to live a transformed life. I wish I had somebody who didn't mind giving God praise, because after you've been through all you've been through, you're a whole lot better. Even though life was bitter, you learn how to be a whole lot better. Not only does she have tenacity that's transformational, but secondly, let's consider how she demonstrates her powerful perseverance. Each writer of her narrative is quite clear that a crowd is pressed around to get to Jesus. Here is the blessing for me as a man. She is not bothered by the crowd, but the disciples are troubled by her presence. It's in the text. She gets from Jesus what they never experienced, and they had always been with Jesus. Got to get me here. To touch the master with such fervency and power that he felt something leave him radiates beyond the disciples' capacity to fathom this situation. She is the only person recorded in biblical history whose perseverance removed from Jesus her healing by her faith. Oh, we don't know when to shout on truth. Listen here. She's the only person that ever touched Jesus and it pulls something from Jesus even though everybody else was around him. Her powerful perseverance is paramount in protracting a paradigmatic posture so our faith gets to Jesus' undivided attention. That's a whole lot of fancy words. Let me put it this way. What she needed, she got from Jesus, even though everybody else was in close proximity. She shows us, church, that if you want it bad enough or need it deep enough, what is available to you can only be given to you by faith in God that is possible. Listen to what she does. She does not let the massive crowd or the religious crew deter her or detour her from getting from God what she needed. I'm trying to help somebody to understand here that sometimes it can get to the point that you can have obstacles in your way, and what you need to do is to make sure the obstacles don't stop you from getting to your objective, and your objective is your opportunity for God to do something awesome in your life. In other words, don't let the pain of your past or the pain of your present hinder you from getting your healing. Get to Jesus. I wish I had somebody who wanted to hear that this morning. I don't know what you're dealing with, and I don't know what you're going through, but whatever it is, don't let nothing stop you from getting to Jesus. Because if you get to Jesus, things will be all right. Do I have a witness here? In other words, my brothers and sisters, don't allow nothing going on in your life to stop you from worshiping and seeking God's face for whatever you need, because it's in that crucible of your faith that God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you can think or even imagine. In other words, trust God with every situation, and God will be in all your situations. I know you don't want, I promise you I'll get out of your way. Finally, not only does she demonstrate tenacity as transformational, and she shows some powerful perseverance, but finally, she demonstrates that dynamic determination helps facilitate our deliverance. Let me help you. The blemish of this story is that she's subjected to the patriarchy of her time because her name is not mentioned while her condition overshadows her identity. Don't let what's going on with you rob you of your identity. The writers didn't mention many women's names because that was the times that they lived in. Women were not considered part of the human race. They were part of what was known as property. In other words, a woman identity was only identified by the man or the father from whom she was born or living with, right? Or even married to. However, this sister does not have a name in the text, but it helps us to understand that sometimes people will know your situation, but not really know you. But listen to this. The writers denied her uniqueness, but Jesus signed off on her deliverance. Society had written her off because nobody wants to deal with a woman with issues. Listen here. People had ostracized her because Leviticus law said that a woman's body, when she's losing blood, is considered to be unclean and unworthy to be in contact with other people. The law required that if you came in contact with a woman who had an issue of blood, you had to announce that you were unclean and undergo the cleansing needed to be considered clean again. In other words, you had to go through some ceremonial cleanness in order for you to be determined by the priest that you're clean enough to go back into society. Let me tell you why I celebrate this woman, this unidentified sister, this daughter. Because the law said what she could not do, grace fixed her situation. I wish I had somebody who felt it the way I wanted to give it to you. She was supposed to announce her arrival. And here is what my hermeneutical and homiletical imagination said to me. She was supposed to announce her arrival. Like a man with leprosy, she was supposed to holler out, unclean, unclean, unclean. Here is the thing that blessed my soul. She was supposed to holler out unclean, and everybody else is mad that she got her healing. If you read the text a little bit further, you'll find out that there were those religious people who had a problem with what was going on. They was upset that things happened for their sister. Here, everybody knows she has an issue, but nobody really wants to help her with her issue, so she has to take her issue to the one that she heard about was doing some things around town, and he was changing people's lives.